today on Divorce Court.
I'm here on divorce court today to save my marriage.
I am the one that stepped out on the relationship, but I was extremely vocal about being unhappy.
When I found out that Chris was having an affair, I felt like I had done everything wrong in our marriage, that I wasn't the person that she was looking for.
I want my wife to know that I do love her and that I know that I have made mistakes, but I want to fix our marriage and to make it better.
I believe that Chris and I could be together forever. I just need to get that trust back in her.
Divorce Court is now in session.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here today with Chris Harris Black and Rachelle Harris Black. The two of you have been married for 3 years. You've been together for 8. You are in deep trouble, and you've come here for advice to see if I can help save this marriage or see if this thing should come to an end. I'm going to call you by your first names, if you don't mind, Chris and Rachelle, because you're both Mrs. Black, okay? So, Chris, I'm going to start with you. Tell me why we're here in divorce court today.
I'm here in divorce court today because my sex life has pretty much been non-existent. For the last 6 months, we had a thing that we call Sunday Fun Day, and I haven't had that in a while, so.
Sunday Fun Day, I like that, I like that, I like that. Now, Rachelle, Sunday Fun Day ain't any fun anymore?
It hasn't been for a while.
Do you know why?
For me, it hasn't been because Chris has been unfaithful.
So you're not comfortable being intimate with her because she's been intimate with other people?
That's correct.
Okay. When did you find out she was unfaithful to you?
This began about 4 months ago when Chris stayed out pretty much all night.
Okay. Now, Chris, is that accurate that you have been seeing somebody else these last 4 months?
That is correct. I did have an affair over the summer.
Over the summer. So how long did it last?
Pretty much the summer, about 3 months.
3 months. So how long has it been since you ended the affair?
Maybe 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Whoa. Can you understand that someone wouldn't want to be intimate with you when she knows you're being unfaithful to her with someone else?
I could definitely understand that, but that stopped well before the cheating came into play.
Okay, so you say the intimacy had ended before you started to cheat.
Yes.
And maybe the cheating was in response to the lack of intimacy at home?
Yes. That's basically how I felt about it, because for me, honestly, I never intended for it to be a whole entire relationship. It literally was meant to just be
satisfy
sex.
a sexual desire.
Exactly.
Let me ask you this. Why do you think your intimacy was not there before the affair?
I mean, we've had, tons of issues with different things throughout our relationship, finances and, caring and companionship and just communication.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, give me a list of things that everybody was upset about. Tell me what it was, like if, what don't you like? He doesn't this, he doesn't that, he doesn't, go ahead,
well,
give me a list.
One of the big things about me that really upsets me is Rachelle doesn't have a driver's license. She grew up in a small town, so I kind of get that. She never, really needed it. She's not as cleanly as I'd like, as housewifey as I would like. I'm not trying to say I'm the tidiest person, but there are definitely things that I feel like she could be a little bit better on in that aspect. And then, definitely the sex and the intimacy. I feel like I have a high sex drive and she doesn't.
Yeah. Are you the primary breadwinner?
I guess you could say right now I am.
Well, you gotta help me out here.
We were equal partners. We were equal partners. She just recently stopped working.
She just recently stopped working. So the housewife duties should have been equally shared. Shouldn't have been her job, right?
Yes.
They should be equally shared, but I feel like I do my part and I feel like she doesn't do her part.
I got you. You do your 50, she doesn't do her 50.
Yeah.
Okay. Rachelle, what do you say about the not driving, the not working, and the not cleaning?
Well, the not driving, she's right about I grew up in a small town, didn't feel like I needed to drive, and then it became something where it was like more of fear of getting out there. So as my partner, I thought that we would work on that together. It's something that, I say that I will work on, but I also thought that she would be a little more supportive and
You know,
That's
they
about
have
it.
companies that do that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's just, they have people, it's the driving thing, you go to the
Yes.
little course.
Well,
I mean,
you do-
people do
you-
it at 16, so you how old are you?
34.
So, hey, it's not that deep.
Usually you have to have a car for those services, and we have the one car, and with Chris being out with whoever she wanted to be with, I
If
didn't
you're
have a
looking
car.
for an excuse, you'll find one. These
Yes.
services have their own cars because they have a parking brake on the passenger side. They don't want to use your car. They want to use their car. You just don't want to do it. So don't hide behind that. Okay, talk about the cleanliness and the sex.
Well, keeping up with the house, I do think that should be 50-50. That's just how it is. And if you're gonna...
Do you do your 50? She says she does hers.
I think I do.
Before you found out about the infidelity, was your sex not life? Was she complaining about the lack of sex life?
Yes, it has probably always been an issue with us because we're just different when it comes to intimacy, period.
Okay,
Just
go ahead.
growing up and the way that I grew up, I would say we're not like a big hugging family. I just never spent a lot of time cuddling with anybody or just anything when it comes to intimacy. It's just not.
You're not comfortable with it.
Yeah, not as open.
Are you comfortable with your sexuality with another woman? I mean, I know you said you had come from a small town and you had trouble speaking about who it is you are sexually. Do you think that has leaked into, that it's not quite right? Is
Most
in the back of your
definitely.
head? Not, you know what I mean?
Most definitely.
That's what your family thinks. That's
Yes.
what everybody thinks. And not everybody, but your
Yes.
family in a small town.
Yes, I believe that was a big issue for me until a few years ago. I'm just starting to come
To get
around to
past.
being open and letting everybody know who I am. and what
Do you
I-
understand that? I assume that you were more comfortable with your sexuality earlier, and that she kind of has to be brought along in that regard because she has so many voices in her head saying you shouldn't be who you are.
I guess I could definitely see that. I've been an open book since high school as far as mine goes, so that's not really an issue with me. But like my thing is like she did kind of have her own cheating situation also, and then she did it with a guy. So
Yeah.
that was like early on in the relationship. And
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I do want to talk about the fact that when she did cheat, she cheated with a man. Who do you think, either is it you or her, that has a hotter temper?
definitely me.
I take it you would agree with that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So as you were saying, Chris, Rachelle did cheat on you, and she cheated with a guy. Why don't you explain what happened and how you found out about it?
Honestly, I found out because I guess she felt guilty. We were sitting on the couch one day watching TV, and I reached over, I guess to like kind of be intimate or hold her hand or cuddle, and I guess she just felt weird about it because she knew what she was doing, and she had told me that she had been seeing somebody.
So seeing somebody, I mean, it wasn't just a one-time incident. She was seeing this guy.
she was seeing somebody, yeah.
Rachelle, why don't you tell me what happened and why?
Well, this was about 3 years into our relationship, and I had met someone just in the neighborhood, and I was open to meeting someone new because I felt like Chris wasn't pulling her weight in our relationship as far as financially. She was working sometimes and not working other times, and I felt like everything was on me, and I was pretty upset with her then.
Okay. How long did that affair last?
About 2 months.
2 months? And you finally told her?
Yes. Well, I told her before. I told her before it was open, and I continued seeing someone else, and we were still living together then. And I continued seeing him for about 2 months. Broke up and then got back together with Chris.
Does it concern you that she cheated with a man and that aligned with her discomfort in being intimate with you? Do you have any concerns that she's not really certain about her sexuality, or that her sexuality may be broader than you believe?
It definitely concerns me. I mean, I know for the most part, I know that she's not really an intimate person. I think guy or girl, that's just not
Just
gonna
not
happen.
her.
As far as it being with a guy, I think that hurt more than it with a woman. Because at the beginning of our relationship, I did constantly have doubt on whether or not, how comfortable she was with her sexuality, considering that I was an open person. I'm not, in the closet by any means, in my dress and my appearance or any way, for me, I'm definitely an open person, and I definitely felt like the fact that it was a guy, that dug real deep. It definitely dug deeper than if it was another female.
Yeah. I understand you guys have arguments that will register on the Richter scale. Is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you think, either is it you or her, that has a hotter temper?
Definitely me.
I take it you would agree with that.
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to talk about that, but before we do, let me ask you this. Were you coming up light in the beginning in the financial circumstance?
It was definitely probably 60-40
Right.
in the beginning of our relationship, but I felt like I did more stuff around the house. Like I did a lot of the cooking, a lot of the, the cleaning and stuff like that. I felt like I made up my difference.
Yeah. I think both of you are speaking about issues that deal with, I think I'm being taken advantage of. You're so scared of being taken advantage of that you're parsing out exactly, she does exactly 50%. Is it a little bit? Because sometimes in a marriage, it's a whole lot of me and a little bit of him. Sometimes it's a whole lot of him and a little bit of me. And you guys seem to be weighing it all the time, which I think might be part of your problem. But having said that, I want to move forward and talk about the anger issues that you have.
Sometimes I'm scared to talk to her because she is an emotional person, and I feel like I don't want her to cry and I don't want to see her like that, so then I don't express things that I'm unhappy with.
Is lack of sex in a marriage a good reason to cheat? Tell us what you think at facebook.com/Divorce Court. Divorce Court will be right back. Rachelle, both you and Chris say she's the one with the bad temper. Why don't you give me an example or two of the kind of anger that she displays?
Well, most recently, we had a pretty big fight when I came home after being out all night. When, as far as I feel right now, we're not together. So I came home and a water bottle went flying across the room towards me. We immediately started arguing from there about where I had been or why I had been out as long as I was. And on my part, Chris comes and goes as she pleases, and I don't say anything to her about it. But for me, it wasn't. I didn't get the same response from her.
You said something interesting. You say you consider yourself not together, but apparently you're living in the same house and you're married. How does that work?
Chris told me that she wanted a divorce. So to me, a relationship ended then.
The moment she said that. Chris, why don't you tell me about your anger, what sparks it, why you think it's so bad?
Honestly, my anger, I was raised in a house where yelling and screaming was the way we fix things.
Right.
Personally, with me, I guess I'm one of those people, I tend to hold everything in. And I hold it and hold it and hold it. And so when I snap, it's not just this one event that I'm snapping
It's
on.
all 90 of them.
It's 365 days of them, yeah. So I definitely think that's kind of what it is. Sometimes I'm scared to talk to her because she is an emotional person, and I feel like I don't want her to cry and I don't want to see her like that, so then I don't express things that I'm unhappy with.
Yeah. Let me tell you what I told my husband. I said, don't let the tears stop you. I can think through the cry. I mean, and if you say something that hurts my feelings and I start crying, don't get back, don't cry. He used to say, don't cry. And I was like, look, I'm gonna cry. You can still talk to me and I can still talk to you, but don't be scared of the tears. Let her go through it. They're not acid. They won't burn. They'll just do that. Rachelle, are you hard to talk to? Is it difficult for you to have a conversation about uncomfortable things?
It's difficult for me to express those things too because I do cry. I am very emotional, and I'm getting teary just thinking about some of the conversations that we've had.
Well, now let me tell you what I learned after I had that conversation with my husband. I learned if I take something in, let it let it flush all the way through me, I can broach it at another time. And I have a responsibility to do that. That if I'm gonna have an emotional and if I'm gonna be upset, I have a responsibility to re-engage after I've digested it, felt what I had to feel, and come back. That's not solely his job. That's my job as well. You can still cry when you're talking, but you gotta be able to engage even when something hurts you. You with me?
Yes.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So that's that. Now let's talk about why you're so hurt to begin with. How would you react to your spouse asking for a divorce? Share your opinion on Twitter and Instagram at Divorce Court. Divorce Court will be right back. You do seem broken a bit. That you're very vulnerable.
Yes.
Why?
I guess in previous relationships, I never really felt completely comfortable with the way that I look or the way I dress, but I never felt like that with Chris. Like from the beginning, I always felt that I was her number one and everything that she wanted until she cheated. So, you know, I'm still kind of lost and trying to figure out what did I do wrong and, you know, what about me isn't enough?
Let me tell you about what it's like to love out of fear. It is difficult to love when you are in a constant state of fear, and I think this applies to both of you, because both of you are scared to death that you're being taken advantage of by the other. You guys have to be comfortable in who you are, and not just with your sexuality, but comfortable that, hey, I can love completely and fully without reservation, without weighing the scales all of the time to make sure that everything is 50-50, knowing that should this relationship end, I will not end. I can live through it, I can be competent, and so you have to come to a person not as a half a person, but as a whole person. And a whole person who knows they can be fine even if the relationship ends. And I don't think either one of you are there yet. I really don't think that you're there. If I were you, I would go get help being more comfortable being who you are. Not just sexually, but just comfort in, hey, I'm cool, I'm good if I don't have anybody. I'm straight and I'm fine and I can come to you, and if I got to carry the weight for a hot minute, ain't gonna bother me because I know I'm not being taken advantage of and I'm not frightened of it. And if I find that eventually that it's not working out, I can say something about it. We can fix it, and I'm not less of a person. It doesn't define who you are. And I think you still got a little of that too. You're comfortable in your sexuality, but you're scared about being vulnerable. And you can't love fully unless you're fully accessible, and you can't be fully accessible unless you're willing to be vulnerable. You with me?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's what I would recommend to the two of you. I've got somebody I want you to talk to when you leave here to help you on that journey, but you clearly need to see somebody about your fears in general, that fear of driving, all of that. Fear will kill you.
Yeah.
Just kill you dead. So, you hear me?
Yeah.
Good luck to both of you. This matter is adjourned.
The judge talked to me today about my fears and the things, the trust issues that we have. So I think what I'm going to do is go to counseling on my own and try to work on those fears, and I'll also be trying to work on getting my license.
The judge pointed out to me that I'm afraid of the tears. I definitely will work on my communication with my wife and being a little more vocal with her, and not being so scared of her crying, that maybe it's a good thing that she's crying because, you know, I'm expressing myself to her and, you know, not taking it as she's upset or sad.